The oldest written records of the rule of law goes back over 6,000 years, and surprisingly, many of the core principles have not changed. If you committed a harmful act, there was supposed to be some kind of consequence. But one of the biggest things that has changed in the US is one of the most important core principles of all, that justice was meant to protect the ordinary person from those in power and that no one is above the law. Yet in the US, it is an outlier, as many layers of protections have been built around power, whether through judicial immunity, legislative immunity, prosecutorial immunity, qualified immunity, sovereign immunity, and so on. And here's the craziest part. A lot of these are actually not written laws in the way that most people think they are. These are judge-made doctrines because our system is based in common law. What is written in statute is not always the same thing as what the courts say it means. And once the Supreme Court rules on something, that interpretation can become more powerful than the law itself because it functions like a constitutional amendment without ever having to go through the Article 5 process. Congress can't create a law overriding a judicial ruling because SCOTUS granted themselves absolute power over law interpretation back in 1803. What we have done instead is create a system that increasingly treats people's harm as less important than protecting institutions and officials from consequence. And the only way to correct that is through a constitutional amendment, which is why I wrote Amendment 9 in my Bill of Structural Integrity. And this amendment abolishes immunity, including criminal. One cannot avoid charges by claiming that it happened while performing official duties. No one in power can claim immunity from civil suits either, and that outcome requires a jury decision, not a judge's. This also protects Section 1983, reversing the ruling that residents can't sue their own states, something that was merely interpreted but not written in the 11th Amendment. It also puts a check on pardoning power. A pres can't pardon himself or colleagues or a past pres or anyone that committed insurrection, treason, or crimes against humanity. They can't preempt pardons, and if it's a family member, they must get permission from the court. And they can't grant a pardon during the final 30 days of their term. So if this is something that you would like to see happen, all you have to do is go to the website I built and state your position. This is what creates a public mandate by holding those in power by the midterm elections, because it's actually real American citizens. Once you're verified, though, you become anonymous. And I also need your help getting the word out because I am doing this completely on my own, and the more that do it, the more impact it makes. The last time a public gathered for an amendment was the 26th, and it passed in 100 days. So make sure to share and follow as I tell you how we're going to keep people in power accountable and enforce the laws in Amendment 10 coming up next.